Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today I would like to participate in a wonderful tarot tag created by Natalia at Ouroboros called the Council of Seven. So this tarot tag is a really interesting exercise that offers us a unique look at the different ways we all experience our decks. So for this tag, we are to imagine ourselves as the ruler of our inner kingdom, as if I am the queen of my personal domain. So within that domain, like any good queen, I would need advisors to help me govern my inner landscape. So with that scene set in our minds, Natalia invited us to select 7 tarot decks and describe them in the personality and purpose of a specific council member. So it will probably be no surprise that the first deck to take a seat at my council is my Lywellen Tarot. This is my most trusted advisor. She is the queen's confidant, the one who knows all the secrets, all the hopes and dreams and fears of this inner kingdom. She's the one who knew me before I became queen, the one who provides comfort in the hard times but doesn't shy away from the hard truths either. She is the deck that I always turn to, whether I just need to pull a card for a moment of quiet and reflection, whether I need to just shuffle the deck to feel the deck in my hands. Even just shuffling this deck brings me comfort. And she's also the deck that I can turn to for just about any question, and she always has an answer for me. She would be like a best friend in a deck. This is the deck that goes places with me. It's never far from my reach, and it's a deck that I turn to quite often for any kind of reading or question, or just to sit and connect with the cards. I left one over here. Who did I leave? The poor page. When I just want to sit with the cards and just take a moment to really connect with those images, that is the deck that I turn to. So she is definitely my most trusted advisor. Beside her sits the Shamone Tarot, who serves as the Council of Soul Connection. So she is the one that reminds me that I am more than just this body in this moment, that within me there is this eternal soul that longs to be experienced. She resonates with the vibration of my being and keeps me grounded, not necessarily in an earthly way, but in the core of who I am beyond this current manifestation. She reminds me to trust my inner voice, even when it leads me into the unknown. The Shamone is really what I would consider a soul deck. It is a deck that reaches deep down inside and communicates with my inner being. It's the soul that speaks to me in the terms of its pictures, in a language of symbology. It resonates deep down in that core level and is one that I often turn to when I am feeling in need of that soul connection. When my soul, as Natalia put it in one of her other videos, when my soul feels hungry, this is the deck that I want to turn to. This is the deck that has those deeper messages for me, that reminds me of who I am and who I was meant to be, always meant to be, down at that deep level. So that is the Shamone Tarot, who is my Council of Soul Connection. She works in partnership with my Marielle, who serves as the High Priestess on my council. She guides me through the murky waters of the subconscious to reveal what lies beneath the surface. She asks me to look deeper, to set aside expectations, and to be open to the story that she has to tell me. Her messages aren't always clear, and as an oracle, she can only guide me to the veil. To learn the lessons, I must be willing to walk behind it. This is the first edition of the Marielle, and I have trimmed it, taken off all the titles, and I've actually rebacked it in contact paper, so it's quite a hefty deck now, which is why I've only picked up a portion of it. Let's see who's underneath here. This is the deck that she really requires me to work mindfully with her. Her messages aren't always terribly clear for me, and I have to really sit with these cards and try to figure out what it is she's wanting me to know. It is like diving deep into the waters of the High Priestess, as I can't really see. I can't always see what the message is. And sometimes I need to sit with it and I need to spend time with it. before I can really connect with it. Now, in the second edition, the Hierophant card was changed, and that actually makes me quite sad because I spent a lot of time coming to terms with this particular Hierophant and learning how to converse with her in particular. And she's been replaced in the new edition. So that's the main reason why I don't have the second edition. Also, the High Priestess was changed, and I believe the Three of Swords, and they were changed to reflect more of a Waite-Smith tradition, which is not really how I read. So I have kept with this edition, which is my big, bulky, like completely modified version, but she works for me. She is definitely, she's my High Priestess. She's the one that she knows what's going on, and she's gonna lead me there, but she's not gonna give me the answers. So that is the Marielle Tarot, who is the High Priestess on my council. So what I learn wading through the waters of the Marielle often leads me to areas that need healing. And so for this, I turn to my Tarot of Transformation as my council of healers. She's the one that helps me to focus on bringing all the aspects of self, body, heart, mind, and soul into balance. Her power stems from the universal healing source that flows through all things above and below. She reminds me to stay connected to myself and helps me to heal from the inside out. This is a deck that I definitely use for healing. She's very much a nurturing deck for me, and she reminds me to reconnect to the physical aspects of my body as well as the metaphysical and spiritual aspects of my soul. So in a way, she kind of combines a lot of the other decks in my council and teaches me how to bring them together into balance. This deck does have keywords at the top, and I do plan on modding this deck because the keywords don't really resonate with me a lot of the time. And the guidebook is absolutely wonderful, and I know this deck has shown up in a lot of people's videos. And a lot of people have mentioned the guidebook because the guidebook is very much geared towards healing. I have read the guidebook. I have studied the guidebook. I no longer really use the guidebook because I let the messages of the cards, I let these cards speak to me in their own language. So that is the Tarot of Transformation, who's my council of healers. So sitting beside her is the Star Tarot, which is my council of spiritual guidance. He is my Hierophant. And isn't it funny how some of the decks I refer to as he, well, really one deck I refer to as he, and the rest of all of my decks I refer to as she. There are very few he's in my collection. This, for some reason, is one of them. So he is my Hierophant. He is the elder. He serves as the mediator between my spiritual world and my mundane world. He's the bridge between the conscious and the subconscious, the traditional and the non-traditional. He speaks in the language of the stars, but he grounds his wisdom in the earthly plane so that I can understand it. He helps me discover my path and to walk confidently on it. So this is again another deck that I have modified. I've completely trimmed it of all of its borders. I do know this deck really well, so I do not need titles when working with it. But this is a deck that is very much geared toward finding your personal spiritual path. For me, it is definitely a spiritual deck. It's one that beautifully ties in those cosmic messages and then grounds it back into the earthly realm, which is, I think, really wonderful. This is one of my favorite cards here in this deck because this deck really speaks to that reminder that we are of both. We are of the stars and we are of the earth. So this deck helps me to remember that interconnectedness between all, and it really helps me to find my way on my path so that I am walking in alignment with my cosmic self, with my earthly self, with my soul self, that they are all walking in alignment together. So that is the Star Tarot, my council of spiritual guidance. When it comes to matters of the mundane, the council member that I seek is the Anna K, my family advisor. She is the objective outsider who brings sage advice in a calm, rational, and understanding manner. She helps me to navigate relationships and to make thoughtful decisions. She's the one who asks me to take a breath when I get in a huff, to ground myself into the reality of the situation and to think before I act. The Anna K is definitely a deck that I use for primarily for family readings, for dealing with situations that often arise in regards to other people. So a lot of the time I use this deck actually in conjunction with my Lywellen. And I actually have 2 copies of this deck because I've created a sort of mini or pocket version that is the same size as my Lywellen so that I can read them in big, beautiful readings together, whereas this kind of represents the other people and the things that I need to know about family issues or relationships and things of that nature. And the Lywellen serves more as this is what's going on inside of me. So I often use my my little pocket edition alongside my Lywellen, and I've created this one to specifically be the same size as my Lywellen so that they will work together. So that's the Anna K Tarot, who is my family advisor. So the final seat on my council is held by the Dark Goddess Tarot. And she is the one who offers the counsel of feminine wisdom. She is the crone, the wise woman who's seen it all and connects me to that primal feminine wisdom of the ages. She doesn't really speak to me in words, but in the flow of blood, in the pull of the tides. She is the sacred feminine who appears with the phases of the moon. So for me, the Dark Goddess Tarot is a fairly new one in my collection. It's not one that I've worked with a ton because she really does only like to come out at certain times. And that tends to be in correlation with the full and dark moon. She's definitely a deck that I have to kind of work with. I have to sit with. Her messages aren't always clear, similar to the Marielle, and she really requires me to take my time and to sit with her images. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. To sit with these images, to sit with the messages, and to really sink into what it is that she has to tell me. She doesn't like to have multiple cards at one time. It's usually 1, maybe 2 cards at most. And I don't really use this in terms of asking questions. I use the Dark Goddess more in times of just offering counsel in terms of what do I need to know kind of to connect with these goddesses and the energy that they have to share with me, and that feminine wisdom that they have for me. So that is very much how I work with this deck. I do believe that this one is out of print at this time. However, I think that the majority of these decks you can still get. So that is the Dark Goddess Tarot, who offers the counsel of feminine wisdom. So it's been really interesting and enlightening to see the different councils that each of us have assembled to help govern our inner kingdom. For me personally, I have a suspicion that some of these decks may be giving up their seat to make room for some new advisors entering my kingdom next year. So there are 2 decks that I've been holding off on working with because I really want to dive deep into them next year, and that's the Mysteries of Marielle Tarot and the Margaret Peterson. I have a feeling that at some point those 2 decks will be taking their place on my council, so I'd be interested to see where I'm at the same time next year in terms of my council. So which tarot decks would be on your council? I would love it if you'd do a VR or just share your selections in the comments below. I want to thank Natalia for putting together this tag for the community. I've really enjoyed seeing all the videos and posts come across all the different social media platforms, and I encourage you to check those out. Keep an eye out also for my 7 guides, which is the Oracle companion to this tag, and that will be coming up shortly. So thank you for joining me for this look at my council of 7 tarot decks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.